47 Meters Down, Uncaged is the sequel to the surprise minimal hit that was 47 Meters Down back in 2017. This film has the same writers and director, Johannes Roberts, as that first film. And this film is about four friends. Two of them are Mia and Sasha, their character names. Their dad has found this Mayan city, and he's going to explore it, but they decide to go in another direction and explore it for themselves. Once they get inside, it's a really cool place, but then they find out that there's a bunch of sharks swimming around there, and now they have to survive. If you remember my review for 47 Meters Down, you know that I was not a huge fan of that film at all. I thought it was terrible. The ending especially made that really a poor experience for me overall. It had its moments though because of the director, but overall when I heard that the director was going to come back for the sequel and that they're actually making a sequel to begin with, same director, same writer, I just wasn't a fan. At least it's not the continuing adventures of Mandy Moore stuck in a shark cage, like, oh no, it happened again. I guess if I had to give this sequel any props is that they at least went with a different story this time. But that is one of my pros with this movie, is that for a sequel to 47 Meters Down that has to have nothing to do with that first film, they actually found an idea that could have been really thrilling and cool. Like, it's actually a really good concept for this kind of story. And when you actually get inside the city that they're swimming in, I thought the set design was actually really well done. Like, they actually did a really good job of making this a really interesting place that, sure, if you were these characters, you would probably make yourself stop. Like, I'm not going in there. But it's a cool place to see and explore, so you can understand why they'd want to. My other pro with this movie is that, similar to the first film, there's a couple underwater shots that look pretty cool. This one, however, I'm more specifically referring to when there's no loud jump scare, when you see a shark kind of swimming in the background. They actually utilize that a little bit more, that you can see just barely some sharks swimming around in the background. Those are my favorite kind of shots in this film. Other than that, this is about the same as the first film quality-wise. I'll give this movie the edge just a little bit more because it doesn't have that terrible ending that the first movie has, but at the same time, these are still two terrible movies. The beginning of this film, very similar to the first one, is very rushed. There's a character conflict between our two leads, Mia and Sasha. They're like stepsisters, something like that, and they have to try to get along, but they're having trouble for some reason that we can't really connect with because the film barely explores it. Very similar to how the first 47 Meters Down, they rushed the Mandy Moore character thing just so they can get out onto the water. So before you get any time to get invested with the two leads, they meet up with the two other friends that are not really that interesting character-wise, and they're supposed to have good chemistry, but they're not really the best actors in the world. One of the friends was actually played by Sylvester Stallone's daughter, one of his daughters, and when I saw her name in the credits, I was like, I actually don't know what she looks like, so let's see if I can actually guess. And then as soon as she said one line, I was like, that's her. And unfortunately, she's not really all that great, and neither is really anyone else. They definitely do try, but it's just when you can't connect with them on a character level, and their chemistry isn't just all that special or unique, it just feels like, oh, we're just friends going along on this journey with barely any history, and if we do have a history, it's barely explored, so you barely get to know us on this journey. You know what I mean? So it was just really hard to get invested with these characters. As much as I kind of like the concept of this film more than the first one, I couldn't get invested with these people. And I like their motivations slightly more than the Mandy Moore, my boyfriend thinks I'm boring, so I'm going to prove him wrong. In this one, they just want to explore the thing that looks kind of cool. So it's like, it's a little better, but at the same time, it's still kind of poorly executed as well. Because aside from the fact that you barely get time to explore any of these characters' personalities or their actual character traits, or just their motivations in general, it is one of those things like, why would these like four high school girls actually want to go to this fight? Well, one of them is a nerd, as they classify, so I guess that makes sense, but the other three are like the popular chicks that probably would rather go to like the beach. So why the specific desire to go here? They barely touch on that. So the characters I didn't really care for, and I could honestly care less whether they died or got eaten or not, which is a very big shame because Mia and Sasha, the two main characters, could have had something really interesting there, like a better sister dynamic than the one in the first 47 Meters Down. But once again, because they're rushing through it, because they're kind of following the similar plot structure of the first film as far as what beats they have to hit, it barely has any time to get into any of that. And when I say that this movie has similar beats to the first film, I really do mean it. This movie, when it gets to like the last 15 minutes or so, there are certain things that happen. I was like, dude, this feels exactly like what happened in the first movie when it was getting to that end point when they were trying to get rescued. Like, can you do something else instead? Because I'm literally just seeing like the vision of, we took the first movie script and just replaced everything. But basically it still has a lot of the same beats that you'd expect, you know? It didn't really offer much of a surprise or anything all that intriguing. Also, the sharks, don't look as good. I like how the set design looks good in this film. In the first movie, it was just sea. But in this film, it's an underwater city with like nice little like sculptures inside, nice little things inside that you can see and get mesmerized to. Like, oh, this is really neat. But then when you see the sharks this time around, they don't look that good. The first movie, they looked fine. They looked good for a low-budget thriller. In this movie, like, it was very obvious they were CGI the entire time. And it was so distracting how somehow in the span of 2 years the CGI quality can go down, but their idea of set design actually goes up. There's a couple moments where the cinematography kind of lingers on one shot, almost unnecessarily, because you're wondering when the director is going to say cut to next shot, but then it just kind of keeps lingering. You're like, what's the point here? Like, what's happening? And then it just cuts like 10 seconds too late and you're like, gosh darn it, are you trying to pad this out? Because this movie is exactly the same length as the first film. If you look at IMDb, they're literally the same length, hour and 29 minutes. It literally does kind of prove the theory that they just took the first film script and just replaced a bunch of stuff, but they didn't do anything that would require the pages to get longer or shorter. They tried to get it exactly the same amount of pages of the script of the first film. I couldn't care about the family dynamic with Mia and Sasha. I couldn't care about their characters in general. I couldn't care about the stupid, cliche school bully, which thankfully she was not in it a whole lot, but when she does show up, it's like, oh my god, really? Do people really still think high school bullies are like this? Like, are you kidding me? Jesus. The sharks didn't look realistic, so I wasn't scared. There's a couple parts where the cinematography shows the sharks just swimming in the background and there's no jump scares. Best parts of the film, but that's not the entire film. Most of it is just getting jump scared by sharks and them swimming really quick, like, oh, they're coming to get you, and then you get out of the way just in time. And it gets really tiresome after a while. It's really not special. The characters I couldn't get attached to, so I was literally just sitting there kind of miserable watching this movie. It's not the worst movie of the year, obviously, but like I said, it's about the same quality as the first film. Aside from the fact that the first movie had a really awful ending, this film has a really abrupt ending that just instantly kind of reminded me like, oh, I don't care. Like, I didn't really care that it was all that abrupt too. Like, when it ended, I was just kind of like, thank God it's over. But, like, it was a very abrupt ending that they should have tackled a little bit more of afterward. Like, there's more that they should have closed off before the movie ended, but I didn't care. I just did not care. I'm gonna give 47 Meters Down Uncaged a D+. It has some moments where the cinematography is neat, the set design is alright, and the concept actually could have worked much better. I saw the potential, but the writing just really fell flat here as far as the characters go, as far as what we could expect with the story. It was all very predictable, and the scares too just did not get to me at all. The sharks, unfortunately, don't look that good. Johannes Roberts, I'm really hoping for him one day because he's gotten a lot of work since the first film I saw of his, The Other Side of the Door, back in 2016. Like, he did 47 Meters Down the year after, then The Strangers Pray at Night. Now he's got this. I'm sure he's got something else in the works right now. Maybe a third 47 Meters Down if this does well enough. I hope he gets his stride one day. I hope he finds what he's good at directing-wise and really just goes for it. But so far, all the films I've seen from him just have disappointed me immensely. And that really sucks to say, because he's obviously an aspiring director. He's been making one movie per year since the first film I saw of his in 2016, so it just kind of shows you, like, he does want to do the stuff that he's doing. It's just that each film he's made, I have really disliked a lot. Like, literally, Other Side of the Door, I gave a D, 47 Meters Down, a D+, Strangers Pray at Night, a D-, and now this, another D+. I'm hoping he makes a great film one day. I hope he surprises me with one of his horror films, but each one of them just feels really cheap and really dull and kind of lazy. But if you've seen 47 Meters Down Uncaged, leave in the comments below what you thought of it. And as always, thank you guys for watching. Make sure to subscribe. I'm Jackson Fulcher. See you guys next time.